Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jenny Zell, and I'm the moderator of today's webinar. In today's webinar, we will focus on all the ins and outs of our push publishing capability and how it can help you in delivering great customer experiences. This webinar will be recorded, and it will be sent out after the webinar is over. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end with our speakers, so if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to add them to the chat box as we go along.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. My name is Dean Gonzalez, and I will be taking you through the basic concepts of push publishing in dotCMS with a demonstration on how to configure, validate, and push content in bulk and individually using workflow actions. So let's start our discussion of push publishing by examining this diagram of a typical dotCMS architecture. Now, this production would be considered a region of content. This DR, disaster recovery, would be a region of content. Your production environment could be several dotCMS nodes. You could also have multiple production environments. You could have a geo-balanced production environment in the US and a second in Europe and a third one in Southeast Asia. You can have your authoring server located in the US or in Hong Kong or in the Mediterranean. It doesn't really matter. You can push to your production environment, and it can be going to production A, production B, and production C, and to a disaster recovery, all at the same time. By doing the push publishing in this way, we are ensuring that all of these environments have consistent content across them all of the time. And that's how you do geo-balancing with push publishing rather than some sort of clustering. What this does is it allows rapid response between client and server because it is geographically closer to them. And you can have production A, B, and C, which can function as failovers for one another. You can have a hot disaster recovery in another region that's available in case your production environment goes down. You can have a checker on that, which will flip the DNS switch to point to your DR automatically. And because you have been push publishing to production and DR at the same time, then you know that they are identical and you know that there are no concerns about your DR having different content or content that is out of date. So to illustrate this, let's set up two push publishing environments. First, I'm going to set up a local dotCMS instance to push publish to demo.dotcms.com. We'll make believe that that's our production. You want to make sure that both of your environments are running the same dotCMS version, are using the same Java version, and the same database on the same operating system to prevent aberrant behavior between the environments. In this diagram, authoring could also be designed to push both to production and backwards in the flow to staging. That way, both new development coming from the dev server and new content coming from the authoring server can be tested and reviewed before it is moved on to production. It is recommended, however, that each user role have access to author new content on only one of the environments and allow push publishing features to include the addition or removal or updating of content on any of the other permission environments, but through the push publishing workflow. This will avoid the creation of the same named content being created with different identifiers simultaneously on multiple environments. You don't want doppelganger content or objects in any way, shape, or form. So authoring on one of the environments and then allowing to do all of the functionality and push that to the other environments avoids this. Push publishing is also an enterprise-only feature, so you have to have a valid enterprise license configured on each environment to test and work with push publishing. Okay, so now that we've discussed some basic concepts of the push publishing flow, let's configure a push publishing environment and talk about the different ways that content can be pushed between environments. both one piece of data at a time and in large bulk bundles, and even based on a future scheduled time. Okay, so what I have here is one server called training.dotcms.io on the left, and I've got demo.dotcms.com on the right. I'm going to show you how to actually configure the push publishing environments, assuming that I am going to set up some user role group to push from training over to this. Maybe might be my staging, or it might be my production, whichever part of the workflow it's in. So, but it's going to push from the sender on the left to the receiver on the right. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say where I'm going to send to, make it a one-way push between the sender on the left, sender on the right. I'm going to add an environment. I'm going to give it an environment name. I'm just going to call it demo. This could be prod, this could be staging. It's just a name, and then you add the user roles that actually have permissions. You could also add individual users. So I'm just going to set up demo admin user, but you could set up a contributor role. Anything that doesn't have username next to it is a role. An admin by default actually has permissions to push publish, but I'm just going to set that user there. Now, once I've got an environment, then I actually need to add one of the nodes in the environment. So I'm going to add endpoint. I'm going to name that demo.cms.com. I will actually also here. Let's go ahead and say demo production. So just so it has a different name from the actual address. Now, since I'm going to do HTTPS, I'm going to do 443 for that push. Now, you could actually create a large encrypted token based upon anything you want, based upon the server name or something like that. You could actually put a path to a text file, or in this case, I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just for testing purposes only. And over here on this side of the publishing environment here, let me go ahead and click save on that one. And you'll notice that here we do not have, we can check the integrity checker, but it wouldn't do any good because we don't have any connection or handshake set up on the other side. The connection has to be two-sided. So here, instead of connecting to the send to, I'm going to connect to receive from. But first, I would need to know, my IP address. Well, I could just set it up from here, this URL. And so I'm going to receive from, and I'm just going to put test training. This could be my authoring server. And then I'm going to put that address of that live server, and then I'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the same handshake token that I put on the other side. Now I've actually got my connection. Now the first thing I want to do is to check my integrity between the versions and make sure I've got a clear check. I'm going to expand this left side here, and what it's checking for is in case someone has, whenever they were setting up the maybe the starter site, there aren't any integrity conflicts, but let's just say there were. Let me actually show you why we only recommend that you actually author on one environment and then you receive on the other. What if I went to the website browser right now on both sides as the same user and I authored in both places? What can a user do? They can create a piece of content with the same name. They could add a folder, and I'm just going to call it same. And you notice whenever I create this folder here that's called same, if I actually edit that folder, it has a particular identifier. So if I actually come over here and I also author, and I do same, and now I've created something, if I look at the properties, with a completely different ID. So by allowing the author to actually create two different doppelgangers that look the same, or the same type of object but have two different IDs, this is a bad thing. You do not want to do this on each side. That's why, since you can actually push from this authoring environment over to the production, and you can remove and you can schedule for the future, and you can do everything that you can actually do on the server, then why give users multiple permissions that you have to do twice, and also allow them to create content on any point in the node? But if you realize that you do have that kind of error, some reason whenever you push something it's not updating, what you can do, here, let me go to the configuration and push publishing again. You can run that integrity checker to see, and that's the first thing you should do actually after setting up a push publishing environment. And you can check for those conflicts. And then it'll give you the ability to view the conflicts. You can see we now have conflicts, and then you can see those conflicts under content types or folders in this case, or HTML pages or file assets or users and roles. We don't have any errors anywhere else. And then it gives you the option to either fix it the local, make the local ID be updated to the remote ID, or you can fix it the remote node, which will take the local ID that you're working on and update the remote node. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to take this ID locally and put it on the remote server. Now, actually, if we edit this folder, has the same ID, ends in AFDDA, as this server, which I'm just going to expand this a little bit here now. And now we look at this folder, AFDDA. Now they have the same exact ID. So the integrity checker allows you to do that. If you encounter any problems with push publishing, then you should make sure that you run the integrity checker and check first that there is no doppelganger type of content created between the servers. So now that we've actually set up the push publishing environment, we'll notice whenever we actually right click on a whole host, a folder on a host, on the content, we can actually push publish in bulk. So if right now we wanted to take any type of content, let's just take activities here, and we wanted to click here, we could then instantly choose everything in the list, and we can push publish it over to the other server. Right? And whenever we do push publish, we can set up a push right now. We can set up a push publish for the future. We can change this date and set it for some time in the future. We can remove it whatever we're pushing, even a single object or in bulk. Remove it right now, which that's kind of the default what it's set to. It automatically configures the push to environment. Or we could push and remove, which meaning we could actually set a date and time in the future, and then maybe it was a Christmas promotion or something like that, and you want to remove it on January 1st of the following year. You can set up the whole bundle of objects to push over and simply at a future time, and then remove itself or the entire package of objects at that future date and time as well. So anything that you wish to do both now or schedule it in the future, if you want to remove things that you accidentally pushed, you can do all of it from the authoring server. That's why there's no reason to give a user the access to do things on both sides of the server. So that is instantly one type of bulk push. So I'm going to show you some multiple different types of pushes now that you can do. My favorite is to simply go right to the workflows and set up, instead of always offering that pop-up option in every single piece of content, my favorite methodology is to allow a hybrid type of methodology where you can bulk push or you can individually push from a specific point in your workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure, that once things have made it to at least the publish step, that then we want to go ahead and push them over to the server. So I'm going to add in the publish step only, and maybe only for certain users, I'm going to add a publish and push. And maybe I would say publish and push to prod, or publish and push to staging, or something that would really, if there were multiple environments. If there weren't multiple environments, then just publish and push, because really the user doesn't have any option. They can only push to one particular area. And what I can do is I can make individual user roles. They're the only ones that actually see in the publishing step the publish and push. Now I'm an admin, so I have rights to see the push publishing button no matter where it is, And here in the workflow, we can also define when they actually see it, what content state. I'm just going to check all, but it could be whenever they're right clicking on a listing, whether the content is locked or unlocked, what state the content is in while they're editing the content to create new content, whatever you wish. So then in the sub action, to enable this kind of one-click push publish, you need to do a few things. So one, you should save, just in case they're drafting the content for the first time, you should save the content. So you can just start typing. And I want to save the content first. And I don't really need, I could notify someone, but right now I'm not even assigning anyone, so why? I'm going to remove the save the assignee. So I want to save the content. Then I said I was going to publish the content, so I want to publish the content next, and then I want to push the content. Now there's two different types of push. You can do push now, or you can do push publish. Push publish brings up that same dialog box we saw before where they could make an option, scheduled publishing. So if that's what I want, I just choose push publish. But I'm going to show you how to do one-click push publishing. And all I have to do is then click on push now and put the name of the environment, right? So once again, let me just go to the configuration and show you the environment's name is demo, but the endpoint's name is demo production. So make sure that you actually copy whatever name you have configured here for the environment. That's what you should actually put in the push now here. And then you can decide whether you want to force the push. Force the push means that by default you want to push every single object in the bundle. In case the user's bulk publishing and clicking push now on 100,000 objects, it might be wise to leave this to false. Otherwise you're pushing every single object every time, even though you pushed it only 5 minutes ago and there's not been any kind of changes to the content at all. Having false as a default option just simply says I'm going to, in the whatever the user is grouping and publishing, I'm going to only take the new and or updated content. Okay, so let's save that option. We have our push publish. We see where it is. I could drag and drop that push publish anywhere that I want or to other workflow action, but let's just go ahead and move it here to the bottom underneath publish. Okay, so now we're ready to go. We've got our publish and push button. Now we need to then look and see the types of actions we can take. Now the normal action is going to be, as a user who logs in on some sort of content that has that system workflow on it, you could edit the content types properties to see the workflows that are actually being used on that content type. I can normally, just while I'm creating content, I'm updating some piece of content for the system, then I simply just push publish. So here I've got my publish and push because this content is in the publish step, and that is an option. So if I want to just simply do a one-click, I don't even have to be editing the content, one-click push and publish. That's the way users are going to normally create content, is that they create a new piece of content, they add something to the system, and they just click the publish and push if they have permissions. Right now, only the publisher legal role would be able to see this button. Everyone else would only see save and possibly publish, depending upon their permissions. Right? So you can keep everything nice and granular. Now, once you actually push something, I can see I should have actually put an unlock there in the workflow sub action. But we want to now take a look at the publishing queue. We look at our status history and we see that already hiking was successfully pushed to the other side. So that is one way you can use that new workflow sub action. However, if we wanted to maybe go to activities and we wanted to create a new activity and then bulk, I'm going to push. Maybe we want to choose some image. Okay, and we just go ahead and add some description, something, and we go ahead and publish it. That gets it in that publish step. Now we can immediately push publish this over to the endpoint, the receiving server. However, what I want to show now is that since we enabled the ability to, in the list, push publish everything, we can take everything that's here in the list and we can push publish it in bulk. Now we could click the push publish to get the pop-up option, or we can just simply click the workflow sub action that's available on all this content since it's all in the same workflow step. And so I simply click apply. It's applying that to all of the objects. Right? And so now I click refresh and it's being push published, and I can once again go down into my publishing queue, take a look at the status history, and see it's already made it over to the other side. So this little push publish test, now if I move this server over and I do go to content and I go to activities, this content is already on the other side. And I can see it takes all of the dependencies. So even if we add new categories, no matter what it is, it takes the binary, no matter what it is, it will take everything it needs, and it will actually update the workflow as well, which is very, very important. If we right now go here to our content model and our workflow, we can see now that the system workflow has been updated on the other side as well. So you really don't have to worry about doing more than setting up that push publishing from your sending server, making sure that everything is tested with the integrity checker, and then push publishing over to the other side. The third way I'm going to show you right now, you can simply take content individually as you are opening it up. You can then push publish it using the workflow sub action, and it does respect permissions, of course. You can click on an entire group, and if you had 580 contents, you don't care about what content type, you want to try and push publish the whole thing, you want to push publish a whole host, you can do that. But what if you actually want to sort and filter by a certain sub action? And I can see I want to go here to my configuration, and I want to make one little adjustment to my to my workflow. I want to make one little adjustment here to my push publish. I want to unlock my content. All right, so before the push, I want to save, publish, unlock, and push now. That way my content won't go locked anymore. All right, so it's just part of making those steps complete. Okay, so what if I wanted to push publish maybe this folder? Let's actually put a new image or file and add something here. Okay, so I've got some new picture here. I want to add this in bulk. You can create bundles, right? So I'll put test bundle. I want to add that whole directory, obviously, that has the image there as a dependency. Then I want to come over here once again to activities, and I want to add these to bundle, and it obviously is already knows what bundles I have. And then I want to go to a banner, maybe take a banner as well, and sort by some advanced filter on a certain type of banner for a new release, whatever I want to do. So I'm going to add that to bundle, test bundle as well. Now this third way, you can then group new features, push them forward or backward, wherever you need to do this. You see that was my last success, but this is my bundle that I'm about to push, which has got a folder, it's got different types of content, it's got a banner here. You can actually examine the whole group of objects. So now I can either download that locally and carry it around in a zip drive if I want. It could be a complete copy of an entire site, it could be a backup. I can download for unpublished, which means I've selected, all of the objects that I've selected here by identifier will actually be removed on the other side whenever I upload the package. I could just delete the bundle, or I can push publish it. Now, whenever you do select this for a bundle, this is not a workflow sub action. This is actually the push publishing, feature. You can then do all of the scheduled things for the bundle. Set it for the future, remove everything that you just pushed prior. Whatever you want to do. So I'm going to actually push publish stream all of this content over to the other side. Now, whenever you do this, it will take the content in whatever state it is when the publishing happens. So if you actually want to freeze all of this content in its current state, you'd have to then download the bundle, and then all of the content would be downloaded in its current state. However, if you leave a bundle waiting, then as users are changing the content on whatever environment you are on, then those objects will change. So just do note that whenever you push publish a bundle, it takes everything at the time that you actually push the bundle and takes all those modifications with it. If you want to freeze it, you download that bundle. So now we see the status history for our bundle. Our bundle has been sent. So then on the other side, we actually should be seeing our new banner content, which was the only new object actually on the other side. So our new, I'm sorry, not our new banner, but our new activity published as. You can see all of this content's already been updated. I know that it's successful because it unlocked all of my content, my new workflow step there. And if I look now at my status history, I should be getting a success message. Sometimes that's actually later than what happens on your server. Here I look in same, I already see my new picture that has been added, and I can then open up my picture and then see my new object. So those are the three different ways that you can actually push publish after you've configured, and the things to think about conceptually as you are setting up your push publishing environment and your whole flow. The three ways that I mentioned were, once again, individual content via the workflow, and you can add any workflow actions and two different types of workflow actions to push publish. Then you can actually right click and bulk publish an entire set of content from anything that you're viewing on the site browser or the content search manager, files, categories, every type of object in the system. You then can also bundle individual objects of many, many different types and then either schedule them from the push publishing queue by examining the bundle. So 3 different ways to do that. And then you'll notice as you actually push each individual object that it does get a push history. So it actually tells you when the object was pushed and who it was pushed by and when it was pushed. And that will keep developing and keep showing every push on that object. So I hope that was helpful in showing you how push publishing works. And now I'm going to pass it back to Stefan for the final part of our webinar.
Thanks, Dean, for these great insights. We're going to open up for questions now. Thanks for joining this training. We hope it was helpful. Please reach out to me if you would like to discuss and schedule a tailored training for your team.